going on with this? Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 226. I'm here with my brother, co-facilitator, Dollar Will. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, Mike? What's happening in the chat?
All
Let's,
right.
let's, let's,
Yeah, hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible. There should be a docket in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. Just as an FYI, we are not certified financial planners. If you want a certified financial planner, go to CFP.net and look up one in your area. We don't give out financial advice on this channel. We are not permitted to do so.
yep, these are just opinions from unlicensed, regular folk for entertainment
Right.
purposes.
All right, we'll give you guys a few seconds to come in, and then we'll get started. Open up the first link.
While folks are filing in, I want to say, we got some closet traders out there that like to hang out in the chat. I'll be checking out y'all comments in the chat. Don't be shy laying back. Hop on the panel sometime. We want to hear your views on things. We'll scoot over, and make room for you.
Yes, sir. All right, give you guys another 30 seconds before we get started, and we'll go ahead and set it off. For those of you that have missed it, Lionel did the Black Crypto Talk last night. You should probably check that out. After this hangout, to follow up on what's happening in the crypto market, Lionel hosts on every Thursday Black Crypto Talk. So make sure y'all check that out and give it a thumbs up. All right, it's time to get started. All right, this one is from NBCnews.com. At HBCUs, crushing student loan debt is a symptom of even bigger problems. When these institutions were created, they weren't created on equal footing with historically white institutions, one expert said. When Michael Sorrell became president of Paul Quinn College 12 years ago, he assessed the dire situation his school was in and made a bold choice: no more football. I mean, we are in Texas. We are an HBCU in Texas, Sorrell said. I got a little flack for that, okay? But to him, eliminating the program was the only way the historically black college in Dallas, which was founded in 1872 by a group of preachers from the African Methodist Episcopal Church to educate freed slaves and their children, could get back on track. Football had cost the school roughly $600,000 to $1 million a year, he said, and scholarships went mainly to the players. Meanwhile, other students struggled. Faculty and staff members were leaving, and buildings had fallen into disrepair. We were roughly 18 months to 24 months away from closing. We had financial problems. We had academic problems. We had morale problems, and it was the prototypical scenario for an institution that had been struggling for a long time, and the end of the road was coming. He told NBC News in a phone interview. The challenges Paul Quinn College face are not unique, experts said, even if its solution was one of a kind. Last month, when billionaire philanthropist Robert Smith thrust historically black colleges and universities into national spotlight by pledging to eliminate up to $40 million in student loans for Morehouse College's almost 400 graduates. His gift was heralded as both historic and likely life changing for those students. But student loan debt is merely a symptom of a systemic problem that dates back to the school's beginnings, according to Mary Beth Gasman, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and an expert on HBCUs. When these institutions were created, they weren't created on equal footing with historically white institutions, she said. So what happens is basically you end up with a situation where the majority white institutions continue to get wealthier because wealth begets wealth, and the HBCUs are behind. HBCUs were founded and subsidized by states, the federal government, and philanthropists or churches to educate Black Americans who were barred from attending majority white colleges. But in recent years, financial woes, among other issues, have forced a number of the schools to think to the brink of closure or put their accreditation at risk. And lacking large endowments for generous scholarships compared to many non-HBCUs, much of the burden can fall on the students to depend on substantial loans to make up gaps in aid. Gassman said said that more than 70% of those who attend HBCUs rely on federal Pell Grants, which is aid for students who demonstrate financial need. But for those students, there's usually still a gap between the Pell Grant money and the aid the school offers, which is where loans come in. Student borrowers owe close to $1.5 trillion in student loan debt nationwide. However, when race is factored in, black college graduates owe on average $7,400 more dollars than their white peers, and that number is expected to be more than triple to $25,000 in the next few years, according to Brookings Institution, a Washington-based think tank. A 2016 United Negro College Fund report also found that a higher percentage of students at HBCUs, 80%, use federal loans to pay for college compared to 55% of students not attending an HBCU. It also found that a higher percentage of students, 12%, at HBCUs combine federal, state, and private loans to finance their education compared to 8% of non-HBCU students. HBCU students also borrow more money and are more likely to tap into unsubsidized federal loans and rely on their parents to also take out loans, according to Gasman. And so, if we could get more of an investment in HBCUs, they could have more institutional aid, Gasman said, referring to federal and state funding inequities. Advocates say a concerted effort from lawmakers is needed to ensure HBCUs get paid and consistent access to federal funds through, though being so reliant on government dollars has its pitfalls. Since the Higher Education Act of 1965, HBCUs have received funding from federal government called the Title III funding to, in part, make up for the past discrimination in higher education. States are states also provide funding for to some of these institutions. However, those sources of funding have not been steady because of unequal funding in state budgets and largely stagnant funding at the federal level. Democratic Senator Kamala Harris of California, who attended historically black Howard University, and Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts have proposed plans to boost HBCU funding on the 2020 campaign trail. Warren has one of the boldest proposing unprecedented $50 billion investment in HBCUs. Victor Santos, the director of government relations at the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, said that these plans are admirable, but HBCUs need long-term funding solutions. Researchers from the UNCF, United Negro College Fund, raised those concerns in a report for the American Council on Education earlier this year, in which they found that HBCUs are more dependent on federal, state, and local dollars than their counterparts. For instance, those resources make up 54% of the revenue at HBCUs compared to 38% at other colleges and universities. Because of this, the report warned HBCUs are particularly susceptible to economic downturns, state divestments from higher education, or policy changes. Oh man, Dollar Will, what say you?
Um, I was still stuck at the very top when you were just the idea uh, that a black college would cut athletics. That's like a show in and of itself. How is it that we us, as athletic as we are, look at all the factors that make that has it such that we can't make money off of athletics. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. We just plant that seed. Maybe one day we can do some research into that, because there's a lot of majority white universities making money off the athletics with black athletes starring in it. There's a lot of factors in that. So that was the first thing I was thinking. The second thing, when I was considering the boldness of Elizabeth Warren's proposal to spend like a significant amount of money. It seems that is what we should be doing when we look forward to, let's say, what it's saying, in a decade, whites won't be, let's say, what was that stat that say the 8 or 9 year old white child, when they get to be 18, they won't be the majority.
Yeah, that won't start until 20. That won't. I mean, it starts this year, but you won't see it come into effect by 2035.
Correct. So if you want to make that kind of so it's a shift in thinking that has to happen in the country. You're not really helping, quote, minorities. The minorities are becoming the majorities. And so the kind of help that non-whites need be, has to be viewed as Central American issues, because you're not helping
Mhm.
a fringe element of the country. You're helping America in the main, when as the minorities become the majority.
Mhm.
So she's pretty out. I mean, whether she's just politicking or whatever, but um, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But that's the kind of mind shift that has to happen. Actually, among whites in power, not as an act of charity, but as a national security act for the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what is there, about 100 HBCUs still left? Maybe less than that.
I do not know the number.
Yeah, let me check it real quick because I think that
So I'll let you look that up. Hello, reigning woman. Hello, Andy. See Andy here every week. Andy, are you a trader? He has some interesting comments from time to time. I'm like, is this guy a trader? What's up, Ghana Warrior? Castle Dragon? You know?
there's 101 HBCUs,
Well, yeah, you close.
down from 121. So when you factor in $50 billion, you have to divide that up against the 101 HBCUs that's still left, right?
So what we looking more like? Help me with my math. That's like a half a billion a school. No, that
Maybe,
would be
maybe if
30.
that.
If that, right.
And maybe yeah, maybe Howard may not need that, right? So it may go to the most dire ones first, and then the other ones will come down the line. I think this might be an opportunity, and I could be going out on a limb. I think this could be an opportunity to fractionalize ownership of the HBCUs to Black people and let them make the investments, even if they're not attending. You take the cumulative. of black wealth or what's considered to be black spending power, and you factor that in from a blockchain crypto standpoint, and you allow black people to make their investments into each HBCU as an ETF, and now those HBCUs can actually survive off of not just federal funding, but from people funding too.
Uh, I think that's I don't think anything structurally has to change to allow and individuals can give right now. It's just in our it's a cultural
But
change
we don't
we
know where
have.
it goes.
Hmm?
We don't know where it goes, and that's I think that's part of the problem.
Uh
I think
schools have to make
yeah.
an accounting now, especially they're nonprofit. You can find out where the money goes.
Okay.
Yeah, nonprofits, especially nonprofits, they have to release that budget annually. It's public.
Hmm.
You can't get that information. We just living so at the margin that when we have the graduates, the ones that are able to pay, make an annual contribution. It's not in our culture to do it.
Hmm.
That's a big problem. That's why that
But we,
article you read quoted like a 70% figure. I think I read later down. It's like 70% of the students are on some type of aid, some type of federal aid. That's 70%. That's huge. And so of that 70%, you would need a large number of them to be gainfully employed to be able to make regular contributions.
mhm.
And so outside of the church, I don't know what that would be good to know. What do we regularly contribute to outside of the church on Sunday?
Mhm.
And the United Negro College Fund telethon every year. I don't know what else we I question or doubt if there's anything else that uh, we can point to and say our cultural tradition is to give to these things. Colleges don't seem to be one of those things that we do, especially if you
Don't
didn't
value.
attend. If we didn't attend it, even if we did attend it, I mean, I don't remember hearing any body I went to school with saying, man, I just contributed to the university.
That's why I said this could be leveraged with cryptos and blockchain. I think
Hmm.
that this could actually people like millennials, I should say, not people, but millennials are more riskier when it comes to investment. So they're more willing to invest into something that's pro-black if they can find out the paper trail, right? And if they can leverage it from the power of their phone. They
Uh,
just prefer to use their 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 uh their accessories of technological advancement. So
but see, the thing about an ETF, you want a return on your investment. You're looking for appreciation of that, as opposed to charity. You don't expect a tangible return. As long as
you
they're
don't think that
hmm Go ahead.
you don't think that there could be a return on investment from this? I
No.
mean, I mean, black people donate to churches all the time. What's the return on investment for that?
I guess what I'm saying is you can't i- i- to treat it like a stock where you want to see it financially grow. That's that's
Hmm.
different from giving it to a charity and expecting to see uh, a, a increase in, say, you know, a community benefit. Educating outside of educating more people at an affordable rate. That is the benefit. But when you call it an investment and in the form of like an ETF, now the investors are like, they're shareholders, and they expect to make money. So you end up with that profit motive in something that's community. It's like you end up with a lot of this kind of stuff we have going on with healthcare. It would
Hey,
be
peace to everyone. Peace to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you have not already done so.
yeah,
All
but
right. We can do the first.
maybe millennials could maybe they could lead the change in the culture of just annually giving, you know,
Mhm.
and then the universities could be more accountable to show what they're doing with the money. You know, making it more widely understood that the information is public, and then the millennials could kick back and say, well, if the public information is transparent enough, so maybe the millennials could lead that change in the culture and the responsiveness of the university to the community about what they're doing with the money. Just more transparency.
All right. Let me get to this next one. This one's from CryptoBriefing.com. Robots can now trade crypto better than humans. Machines are taking everyone's jobs these days. From delivering your packages to driving you home, computers seem to be doing everything more efficiently. And with the latest advancements in artificial intelligence, they are even better at trading crypto. Pingzora, a crypto exchange and capital management company, has revealed a new trading algorithm which hustles Bitcoin better than the savviest of human traders. Take note, Lionel. Their trading algorithms have generated returns of 120% over the past 21 months since September 2017. That's far above most other crypto hedge funds, which have experienced a median loss of 63% following the market downturn last year. Their new trading models can even beat traditional markets, according to Panzora. The Sharpe ratio, which measures returns on an investment in relation to its risk, exceeded 2.0 for the new Pangzora AI algorithm. By contrast, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has a long-term Sharpe of 0.79. These results show the level of sophistication AI can achieve in crypto hedging strategies, said Panzora CEO Gavin Smith, who is also one of the AI architects. Though the models learn and adopt over time to keep in step with changes in the market, the goal to capitalize on price movement remains fixed. In addition, Smith said the software also protects traders from unexpected market drops. The models are also written to guard against any downturn, he added. They are built to retain as much value as possible when the market drops or moves sideways. Panzora hopes to leverage the new algorithm for its active treasury management service, which manages subscription capital raised by ICOs, IEO, and other token offerings. Running through a Cayman Islands based hedge fund, the service allows crypto companies to increase their treasuries as they build out their products. Tokens tokens mostly receive their subscription capital in cryptocurrency, leaving it subject to price volatility, explained Marcy Turman, Penzora COO, Chief Operating Officer. The active treasury management service effectively hedges this capital to protect it against a cryptocurrency price collapse, but the models are also trained to identify market inefficiencies that can generate excess returns. Oh, good, another way ICOs to make money. Um,
I got a dumb question.
mhm.
Okay. Are you okay when I say trading bot, that's okay, what is my question? When we say artificial intelligence, you're talking about something that can learn and teach itself as it's doing the thing, right?
It mimics human behavior. So basically, it will make the same exact decisions that a human being would make.
Okay. So
So machine learning is an algorithm, and artificial intelligence is basically software that mimics human behavior.
So machine learning is not part of artificial intelligence?
Machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence in this context would be for for Panzora it was built from the ground up to do what it needs to do. Machine learning is just one aspect of it.
Right, right. Well, I guess what I'm trying to you answering my question. What I'm trying to get clear on is we're not talking about just a simple program that people have been writing to make automated trading. This is something that's more dynamic than that. It can spot like inefficiencies in the original program and correct it along the way. Is that what we're talking? So it's like it can, just like a human, we can see that. An idea that we had in the beginning is not panning out the way that we anticipated, and we can make adjustments along the way. So you're saying, when you say to me that this thing would respond the way a human would, so is that what you're saying to me, that it can correct itself and improve itself?
Yep,
That's scary.
it's gonna it's gonna put a lot of people out of business. You know, because it's only gonna get better. It can't get worse. It has to get better because um, I forget the term right now. There's a technical term for it, but it's basically cumulative. So it's going to keep getting better and better and better as it progresses. And this is by the day, not by the you know, not by the year, not by the month or something like that. This is by the day. So every day it makes these decisions. It also records all this stuff into a database, and then it does its analysis on previous trades and things like that. It does all this in real time. There's no way a human being could keep up that fast. I
So
mean, look
we're
how long it
saying,
takes.
oh, I know it now because we
Look
can't.
how
I was just talking to some people, and we talk about how we don't feel like looking at the computer that long. This thing will look at the computer for as long as the market is open. Look at, study the data as long as there's data coming down the pipe. We have to go to sleep and eat and go to the bathroom and all of that. Not the robot.
well, but it doesn't have emotions either. So it
Right,
doesn't make emotional decisions, right?
right.
That's only that. Well, not so much a downfall, but that's what separates it from the human itself. And look how long it takes just to fire up, technical charts,
And we get
during the
tired.
hangout.
So our performance is not steady as fatigue sets in. We
Hmm.
fall asleep at the desk. The robot won't. Wow.
No, that's
So
equal. As long as the fans are running on the CPU on the machine itself is, and as long as there's electricity, it's going to keep going.
so for me, the technical trader, I'm gonna have to the my future success or success is not gonna be determined by how good a trader I am. It's gonna come down to if I have the money to buy one of these robots.
Or the ability to run one of these robots. I mean, we covered an article probably about last month that showed Dell, was it Dell or HP? One of the two companies built these new AI powered machines with Nvidia chips in there and I think Intel chips or something like that in there. And these suckers are very expensive. You're talking anywhere between uh, $25,000 to $100,000 for a server.
So if you telling me for 100 grand I can get one of these robots, um,
Oh
it might be. Whereas a lot of traders are trying to make a few $1 million, we might have to adjust our goal to just try to make couple 100,000 and get the robot and let the robot do the rest.
Well, you're buying when you're buying these machines, you're buying them in clusters. You're not buying them one at a time. So a cluster of machines could be 5 racks. A rack can hold a dozen boxes in there.
Wow. So
So
you
when
get a
they
half.
buy machines, they don't buy one at a time. They're buying clusters. They're buying racks. They swap all of that old gear out. They throw all of that new gear in all at once.
So you're saying about a couple 100 grand, I would get a cluster.
Well, 100 grand might buy you one rack at best. Maybe a couple of machines, but a whole rack. Um, literally a rack holds what we call 44 units, 44U. One one computer is one unit, so it holds 44 computers. When you multiply that times 5 to 10 racks, that you're talking. I've been in Fidelity's data centers. These things are no joke. I mean, you're talking 50 racks up in there at a time, and that's just one place. They got 2 dozen places where they hold these computers.
So we'd have to end up creating like an investment group of maybe say 20, 30, 50 people pooling their money to buy several of these racks.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
this is why we this. Mhm. Right. This is why we kind of bang the drum on these certifications, these nano degrees, and you know uh, these emerging markets, because this is where it's going. The days of buying a MacBook or something like that, and trying to fix that for some money. No, the money is going to be in those AI machines that need to be repaired, um, and they're going to pay big money because it's the downtime is unaffordable. If they go down, a machine goes down, that could be $1 million lost. So in the next few minutes, they have every intention on keeping those machines up and going. They're like thoroughbreds.
oh yeah, I had that point made clear to me, and I was it's on my own. I was looking into some proprietary trading opportunities, and they use what do you call it, VPS, or what's that, was this the server in the cloud to host the trading, because they were talking saying that you're dealing with so much money, such large numbers, that you don't they don't really want to trust you using your home computer. You have to reboot your computer, and the price moves past the point where you wanted to put a stop loss in to be able to get out of a trade, but you had to reboot your computer, and you come back and you've lost like a significant amount of money because you couldn't keep your computer running. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been in multiple traders' rooms where they're isolated off, and I've seen what kind of computers they hold. Two computers each. In case one goes down, another one is there. They can jump right over in the next 2 seconds, and they have multiple logins. There's all types of ways that they've made investments into uptime. Uptime, business continuity is very important. Um, Again, that's why we have these conversations about where you should go in the tech field and stuff like that. Because I used to support those systems myself, so I know what goes into them.
Wow, mind blown.
Well, Lionel might have to find another job. I mean, he's into investing into cryptos where he's battling that AI. He got his work cut out for him.
He and I both, like I said, we're gonna have to buy, get an investment group together and buy an AI, you know,
Hmm.
or try to make as
Yeah,
much as
I
we
mean,
can and get out.
yeah. I mean, Lionel's only in the chat right now because he's moderating the chat. But if he was on his panel, I don't think he would want that smoke with artificial intelligence. All right, let me get to the next article.
What's up, brother DE Raptor?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How Mike? How you doing, dog?
All right.
What's going on? What's going on? Raining woman, what's going on? Shaw Willie, what's going on? How are you doing?
Anybody in the chat want to get on the panel? Give Poke Lionel.
Hey, Mike and Dollar. This is not new technology. This is an upgrade. Am I right?
No, no, this is new. This is something that hasn't been seen before. At the rate that they're going with this is exponential stuff that no, the market hasn't seen anything like this before. I mean, yeah, you had trade bots like Dollar Will was talking about, but trade bots and the AI, two different ways of technologies and which way to go about it.
I mean,
So
trading bot sounds like a tricycle compared to what this thing is.
but we have people who
oh,
would tell us that this is just an upgrade. It is not. This is not real. This has been around for years. It's not new.
no, no, this is new. This is new. This part of the technology is new. They hadn't really seen anything like this before. The type of equipment that you need to run this type of stuff, very expensive. It's not cheap. Um, so they're willing. I mean, the ability to put something like this together must have come at a massive scale. It took a lot of code writing to do something like this. So, uh, but let me get to this next article. Please mute up, please. All right, this one is from CNBC.com. Amazon launches a credit card for the underbanked with bad credit. Amazon is finding a way to get its rewards credit card in the hands of more people. The e-commerce giant partnered with publicly traded bank Synchrony Financial to launch Amazon Credit Builder, a program that lends to shoppers with no credit history or bad credit who would otherwise be exempt from Amazon's loyalty rewards. There's always going to be people that we can't give credit to. This is a large population that we weren't able to reach. Tom Quindlen, Synchrony Executive Vice President and CEO of the bank's retail card operations, told CNBC in a phone interview it's a new segment of the market. The card has the same perks like 5% cash back on purchases that come with the popular Amazon store card, which Synchrony also powers. These reward cards incentivize shoppers to use Amazon instead of alternative and helps drive loyalty with its customer base, Quindlen said. Banks such as JP Morgan have also bet on rewards cards that would theoretically make customers spend more and in return bring in more interest and returns. This new Amazon card could open the door to a huge segment of U.S. buyers. According to a 2018 FICO survey, more than 11% of the population has a credit score below 550. About 4% of their population had a bad credit score, which, according to FICO score, is between 300 and 499. How does it even get that low? Meanwhile, according to 2017 survey by the FDIC, 25% of the U.S. households are either unbanked or underbanked. The program prompts users with financial literacy tools and tips to learn about building credit. For example, it might include a tutorial on why someone should pay a minimum, Quindlen said. Borrowers can eventually graduate to an unsecured Amazon credit card once they've demonstrated they can pay back the loans. Reaching further down the credit curve comes with risk, Quindlen said. They are mitigating that by issuing what are known as secure credit cards. People can deposit $500, for example, and have a $500 credit limit. The interest rate, or APR, for the starter card is 28.24%. It's putting credit in the hands of people in a responsible way, said Stamford, Connecticut-based Synchrony Bank, which is a subsidiary of Synchrony Financial. Also issues co-branded credit cards with Lowe's, Sam's Club, PayPal, Banana Republic, and other companies. The new card application sits directly next to the other Amazon cards. If a customer doesn't get approved for an Amazon credit card, they'll be prompt for this new offering and ask if they want to apply to Amazon Credit Builder. Instead, they can eventually graduate to another Amazon store card once they've built credit history, according to Quindlen. Amazon wants to be the new Western Union, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, but it's kind of links to the last conversation we were having. They're trying to go after the unbanked and underbanked population. But people are smart enough to figure out. I mean, if you have a low credit score, it's mostly because or to some large degree, you don't have enough money, don't have enough income. So if you can't pay your debt, people figure out, don't put your money in the bank. Don't put your money really anywhere where it can be accessed by, against your will. So better training and job opportunities. That's going to solve that. Now, I don't think a card is going to solve that problem. You know, because if you put if you at some point, PayPal accounts and every other these debit cards and various little digital vaults to be able to put your money. At some point, the creditors are going to be able to come after that too. And so I don't think you're ever going to have people moving out of the category of the unbanked until they have a job with some decent income where they're not in fear of being able to pay their debt, pay their bills. So,
And this is why you need, and this is why Lionel talks about investing into cryptos. I think this is the perfect opportunity to hide your money inside some volatile account, not account, but into a digital wallet that you can put into cold storage, and then they'll never ever be able to get your money in.
and it could work, but then that makes it more important to learn how to gotta learn to read a chart, and not just a chart. As you moving around from one crypto to another, to a stable coin to another, it's like hell. You have to learn how to read a whole lot of charts, because you could
Or
you
get a,
go ahead.
no, or get some AI to read the charts for you.
Hey, there you go. Exactly. Fractional AI.
Mhm. DE, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is gonna take, like, there is a market for this already, and there are a lot of debit cards. People issue debit cards to they claim gonna build people's credit, and you can buy these debit cards from like Publix, Walmart, Target. I think what's really happening is that Amazon is going after that market because people who can't get credit cards just can't get credit cards. They just can't get credit. Even if you charge 28%, it's still. I mean that now is going into how can you get repaid from somebody who don't have money?
I think we have to start looking at a different perspective on what's going to happen with all these jobs for those people too, because uh, typically the underbanked are people who are in dire poverty, or the unbanked, I should say, are in dire poverty. So they don't have the ability to even get a job to begin with. So how do you establish better credit for those people? I think this is the only way that you can actually do that. And I think maybe Amazon might be thinking of the government they create an institution, or a mechanism that allows the government to put the money into this bank account, or onto this card, and then that props up the credit score of these people, even if they're not working.
Well, you when you brought up the subject of government putting money into their credit card, it could be that Amazon is working in the back to get all the programs that covered by the government, where the government issues a debit card, put your money into a debit card, that they're
Mm-hmm.
working in the background to get their card being used by these people to do that. And that's what normally businesses do. Businesses like Amazon, banks used to do it, and Walmart did it with people who low income people who want to buy with the groceries that they buy. Walmart set that program up, sold it to the government, and people just go to Walmart and get what they wanted, and pay with before with the paper that the government gives, but now with the card. So Amazon might
Mm-hmm.
be going after part of that market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another thing occurred to me. This is kind of a way I kind of look at this with suspicion. Maybe I'm too pessimistic. It's sort of like scraping the bottom of the bowl. It's like when let's go back to like the last housing bubble. Once you sold all the uber expensive homes, and if you're in the home, whether you're in banking or real estate, you go, okay, let's find some poor folks and make their dreams come true and sell and
Mm.
let's go after that market since we can't sell anymore to rich people. Let's go to the poor. So now it looks like it's happening again. Let's scrape the bottom of the bowl and let's get some of the underperformers, the high risk sector, and let's see if we can make some money by selling them a product. That doesn't sound like something you do at the during the healthy part of a trend. That sounds like something you do to squeeze the last few pennies out of a market that's overheated.
You're right about that. You know,
Well, you
that market is huge. People will believe that like one third, about one third of the population of the United States is considered like poor, dire poor. You know, either no job or and the government supporting them, or they have a job but they're still on government support, or they have a job and they're borrowing money to keep up. That market is huge.
well, you factor in that their credit score also determines their spending power. So if you don't have a right credit score to go finance or lease a vehicle, you're out of that market too. So this
Right.
is a cascading effect, where and that's why you have so many cars on these dealer lots that are being unsold because the people, the percentage of people have whose credit score is considered to be terrible, 300 to 499. In order for you to finance a car, your credit score has to be at the very least, bare minimum has to be at least a 550, and to get the highest interest rate. So you can't even get a Hyundai or a Kia or even Honda doesn't want to deal with those type of people either. You have to go to like a Mitsubishi or something like that to go get a car,
You
or
probably
or
can't
go to a
even,
used car lot.
or a bird scooter.
Yeah, you might have to call Complex Design, and even Complex Design might not want to deal with you either because um, if you can't afford to pay your bird scooter monthly, how's you going to repossess that?
Yeah, it's
This
just
is this is a big
yeah,
cascading effect.
yeah.
This is a big cascading effect. I don't think people really take into consideration. You want to build the black community? Go build their credit scores up.
It's like where were these do-gooder corporations when people were amassing this debt? Where was all this concern to help them then? you know,
Mhm.
I think they were out making money from rich folks and this underperforming sector is like the last growth area.
Mhm.
Get make some loans, get some insurance on it, stick the insurance with the debt that the people don't pay back, or get the make the loan and sell the loan in the secondary market and just like play a game of hot potato.
Mhm.
But that's what happens with poor people all the time. That's the government actually sells. I don't know if you know, but the government actually sells these programs. Like the one that the government hands out money to every month, they actually sell this, and then the company that buys them make the money off the interest when they put it. The government might put $1 million into the bank, and this company will be in there for, I don't know, 15, 20 days. This company is supposed to invest the money, make money off of it, and then they pay out millions at the end of the month.
Well, it's sort of like when you buy a house right now. If you go right now and buy a house, by the time you make that first payment, that mortgage has been sold.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You get a book in the mail say pay these people instead. You're like,
Oh,
wait a
yeah.
minute.
That's what
Yeah,
got us in trouble in the last market because they were selling mortgages 100 times.
yeah.
You
So
know,
the first company got the mortgage. They don't trust you like that. They got their
Yeah.
little
Unless
money. Go ahead, Mike.
no, I'm just gonna get to this next article.
Go for it.
This one is from USA Today. Rolls Royce, Aston Martin, Lamborghini car prices plunge as ultra luxury market expands.
How?
Now might be a time.
Let's see.
Now might be your time. Sure, you may still need a couple $100,000, but you probably won't need as much as you used to. Values peaked in 2017 and are now falling for both old cars and newer stuff, said Max Warburton, auto analyst at Sanford Bernstein, in a recent note to investors. Average prices of Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, and Lamborghini used vehicles in particular have declined sharply, according to data analysis firm Thinknum, which assess data from more than 130 auto retailers on behalf of USA Today. You're seeing significant drops, said Josh uh, Berlinger, editor-in-chief of Thinknum. One likely culprit: ultra-luxury car makers have flooded the market with new vehicles as overall sales flourish, minimizing the exclusivity factor and driving prices down. Value Values may have overinflated and the market too crowded, Warburton said. The trend is a warning sign as brands aim to introduce instant classics into the market to bolster profits, Warburton said. You got more inventory and you've got more choices. You've got to wonder if you got changes in perceived value, Furlinger said. As of June 6th, average list prices of Aston Martin used vehicles had fallen 54% from their 2018 peak to $103,000, according to Thinkum. Average list prices of Lamborghini used vehicles declined 56% to $207,000, and average list prices of Rolls-Royce used vehicles tumbled 48% to $198,000. Key examples of luxury models have depreciated sharply in value in recent years, according to the Haggerty Price Guide. 2004 to 2016, Aston Martin DB9. 2003 to 2011, Bentley Continental GT. 2003 to 2017, Rolls-Royce Phantom. These are exceptions. For instance, the Rolls-Royce Black Badge Wraith, which carried a starting price of about $332,000, is holding up well. But a push by Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, and Lamborghini to boost sales has led to a significant increase in ultra-luxury vehicles around the world. In 2018, Rolls-Royce sales rose 22% to 4,107 vehicles. Aston Martin jumped 26% to 6,441 vehicles, and Lamborghini spiked 51%, 5,750 vehicles. That puts pressure on used cars, said Dave Kinney, publisher of the Haggerty Price Guide. Plus, each company is constantly introducing new models that get incrementally better all the time and with more features. For example, safety systems such as lane departure warnings and collision avoidance are becoming readily available in new ultra luxury cars. Carl Brauer, executive publisher of Kelley Blue Book, said ultra luxury car makers have put so much emphasis on introducing whiz bang new vehicles that their used models quickly look less appealing. There has been a rinse and repeat attitude from a lot of the specialty car makers, he said. They have absolutely been playing that angle more aggressively than I have ever seen them do. That obviously is going to have a saturation point. What's more, the ultra luxury car makers are beginning to introduce SUVs to take advantage of the nation's renewed love of bigger vehicles. For example, Rolls-Royce introduced the Cullinan, and Aston Martin is debuting the DBX, and the Lamborghini introduced the Urus. As Americans flock to SUVs, older used cars become less desirable even to luxury car buyers. So I saw this coming years ago. I think one of the issues is that athletes and entertainers, more importantly, rappers are getting more bankrolled for their 360 deals, which is allowing them to go out and buy these vehicles, um, through corporate financing and things like that for the record label, and athletes too are getting guaranteed money in the NBA and the NFL. So that's allowing them to buy more and more of these vehicles. So what happens here is there's a flood of these or demand for these vehicles. Athletes, entertainers go out here and they buy these cars. They buy them by the lot too. It's not uncommon to see a rapper with 5 or 6 cars that he doesn't even drive. I've seen quite a few of them at auctions, um, where certain rappers have owned this vehicle, but they never even drove it, or if they did drive it, they beat it up pretty good, and it ends up at the auction, and that's the value of the car has depreciated, and no one really knows how to, it hasn't seen any maintenance. It's not worth it anymore, to put your money into those places. So um, you rather just go buy a new car. For the athletes, it's the same exact thing. The athletes, they get guaranteed ball money, and they buy these cars for whatever reason. Like Antoine Walker had 20 different luxury cars that he couldn't even drive before he went broke and bankrupt. Same thing with Vin Baker and the rest of these guys working at Starbucks now and Dunkin' Donuts, pouring coffee. Big ass baristas sitting inside behind the counter. Um, these guys ruined the market for the most part.
I guess I don't see it that way. I see it just as a continuation of what we said before. They're selling a dream. The headline for this story that made me respond spontaneously. Rolls Royce, Aston Martin, Lamborghini car prices plunge as ultra luxury market expands. Then they went on to talk about how they selling these used cars. Okay, so they're calling making these luxury brands available to poorer people. They call that expanding the market. Some crafty marketing language there. They're selling a dream. They're getting appealing to people's aspirations who can't afford that car. Just like the same people that can't afford that big home. So they're selling a dream. Why? Because
I
the
don't.
people I didn't hear anything in that article about Richard. They wouldn't be selling pushing these on poorer people if the richer folks were still buying these cars. And we're at the end of this growth cycle, and that's what you do. You got to, people at the top or richer folk. They're the ones that's owning all these businesses and stuff. And they see that the economy is slowing down. They're not buying these cars. So what do if you're a luxury car maker? You go to some poorer people and tell them that their dream is about to come true. They can have what they've always wanted. You can have this car. You can have this house. You can have this credit card
No,
with the. Mhm.
uh, the ultra luxury car market is different. I've been to Lamborghini dealerships and stuff like that before I bought when I was car shopping, and I can tell you that they won't even talk to you unless you have a certain credit score. They're not even gonna. You can't even sit in the car unless you got a certain credit score. So they're not selling it to poor people. Poor people don't even access to the dealerships.
Wasn't this article
They won't even.
explaining to us how these cars have lost their value and they're selling these cars, making it more affordable? But the expansion of the market is poorer people buying it.
No, they're not. They're not. They're not. It's not happening. Because in order for you even to get one of these cars, you got to have at the bare minimum a 700 credit score. I mean, yeah, the person might be poorer than let's say a millionaire, but they're not just the same person who can't get a secure credit card isn't the target market. That's
No, no,
not who
no,
they're
no.
going
That's
after.
not what I'm saying. Now I'm comparing this
Oh, okay.
from the top down. I'm not comparing it from the bottom up. I'm saying you have the rich and you have the less rich. Their target audience is the uber rich. The only reason
Right.
why they're selling one notch lower is because the marketplace and the uber rich is not buying these cars. So they go to the next best, the people who aspire to be the uber rich. So they go and make it affordable for them. So that's what they're calling market expansion. I'm saying that's marketing crap. they went to a less sophisticated part of the marketplace who's going to make an emotional purchase because now they can have something they always wanted that they couldn't afford yesterday that they really still can't afford today. But they're
Well,
making
don't
them a
forget
deal.
yeah, but don't forget shareholders also telling these guys, telling the manufacturer and the dealerships, move more cars and move
Right.
them now. And if you want those Lamborghini, Bentley SUVs, you gotta take on this many Lamborghinis, this many Bentleys, and this their dealer lots are flooded with all these cars that they had no idea how they're going to sell and how they're going to move them.
That's right. They got to get that stuff out of there. And this
Yes.
speaks to the larger the macro issues we're talking about with this glut of a lot of things in this economy right now, and with Trump's tariffs. The name of the game in business right now is can get that inventory down
Hmm.
by any means necessary, and that's at all levels of the economy. And this is an example of what's going on at the luxury end, but the objective is still the same: get rid of that damn inventory. you know
Hmm.
so somebody will get to have the car they always wanted.
Now I think DE drives a Cadillac Escalade, right?
No, bro. Sorry. No, none of that.
Oh, wrong DE Raptor. Huh? It must have been DE, Mongoose or something.
Yo, bro. I had I when I lived in England, I used to drive a
Hmm.
Mini Cooper. I know you know what a Mini Cooper is. When I
A
moved
Mini
here,
Cooper.
Mini
Yeah,
Cooper, yeah, at that time they used
emphasis
to
on
call.
many. Don't tell me you 6'5", man. Don't tell me you one of these 6'5" dudes rising up out of
Oh,
a Mini
bro,
Cooper, man.
I'm just five. I just 5'10". I used to own a Mini Cooper, and I used to have
Hmm.
a Morris 1100. I don't know if you guys remember those, but you
No, I
know.
don't remember that.
But then when I moved to the U.S., my first car I owned in the U.S. was a Toyota Corolla, and I have owned a Toyota since then to now. The only other car I ever owned besides Toyota is a Delta 98. But I'm not in the luxury
No,
car.
wait, they don't know. They don't know about no. Wait a minute. A Delta that was wait was that a Delta 88? Is what that's an Oldsmobile, right?
Oldsmobile Delta 98, the biggest
90.
one that they have. We used to call them boats, like sailboats, you know.
Well, I had a deuce and a quarter.
Oh man,
They don't know nothing about this stuff now. We're gonna have to come to the modern times. There's no equivalent on the road to a Delta 98 or a deuce and a quarter. They don't know nothing about that.
oh.
The back seat was as big as your living room couch.
Well, it was used for the same thing.
That's right.
Well,
I was gonna leave that alone. That's right.
Dollar Will still drives a what, a 1994 Accord EX, right?
Nah, not quite. Almost. I'm almost that old. My car's old, man. I'm not trying to, I don't want nothing new.
Your car still has like the rollback seatbelt mechanism, right?
No, man. I have, my car is 18 years old, and I have electric windows and heated seats, and because back in the day, I had everybody at my job saying to me, top of the line back in time. Get the top of the line car,
Hmm.
go back in time, so you don't have to pay all that inflated price. And you buy at the top, it takes a long time before the rest of the cars, the average car on the road, has all of the amenities of that car. So you can keep it a while.
Now, does it have dual airbags though?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yes,
Oh, whoa, shit, you living it up then, bro.
yeah. I don't think I have side airbags though. I don't
Yeah.
think they had side airbags back then.
Now, do you have ABS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, as long as you got AAA, you should be good, bro.
and a sunroof. There you go. I didn't have to cut it
Oh,
in.
that's
Okay, I
base,
didn't
right?
cut it in there. Okay, it came that way.
Mm-hmm. No, but I mean, the only thing that's missing from your car is navigation, in-car navigation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
And I had to upgrade the stereo. Yeah, no navigation. Right. Yeah, none of that.
Living in you living the life, I see.
Oh yeah, no car note. I haven't had a car note, man, in about 15 years.
You know, dollar that some guys that are turning those cars into self-driving cars. You know that, right?
Wow.
The guy's doing that. Literally, I saw a video of a guy who took his thing and used a cell phone for the navigation.
Hmm. Hmm.
They should call them self-sailing cars because it's a bouncy ride, man. It's like sailing.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right, this next one is from Jalapnik. Car sales are slipping into recession level decline. Car sales seem to be hitting recession levels of decline. China is eyeballing hydrogen fuel cell tech. May was another bad month for automakers as demand in the US and China, the world's two biggest car markets, continue to slip. One analysis claimed the sustained decline in the auto industry is reaching a level that hasn't been seen since the recession, which are not good words for anybody except all of you still hoarding Geo Metros, dollar will. Many automakers have spent, oh sorry, global light vehicle sales fell 7% in May, dragged down by a 16% decline in the Chinese market and stagnation in the US and Europe. Research firm LMC Automotive said in the report. The global automotive industry is enduring a sustained downturn not seen since the Great Recession, the report said. Many automakers have spent the last few years shifting focus to the Chinese market for growth, are now hoping things magically turn around in the second half of the year, but it's not looking likely. The pace of sales declines in China is still quite a bit shocking, and that's equally shocking is a lot of companies are simplistically thinking this will stabilize in the second half of the year. Murphy said that kind of optimistic appraisal is a little bit concerning for companies making large capital commitments that we all know are 5 years out. While the Chinese market is big enough to likely still show growth for companies investing in the country, it's seemingly less and less likely the companies will see growth on the scale they predicted on time. Remember that the recent decline is the first time it has seen a drop in 20 years, with companies like Jaguar and Tesla heavily reliant on pulling off a strong foothold in China to support themselves. If that fails, the companies won't have any other market of growth, as demand in Europe and US also continues to slip. It's going to be very expensive for a few years coming up, it seems. Speaking of Tesla in China, one of the key figures in the Chinese government responsible for the rapid growth of electric vehicles in that country is now shifting his focus to hydrogen. And if the government follows his advice, it could mean a massive investment shift across the entire industry. Here's more on Wang Cheng, former Chinese science and technology minister and current vice chairman of China's National Advisory Board for Policymaking. We should look into establishing a hydrogen society, said Wan, 66, who's now a vice chairman of China's National Advisory Body for Policymaking, a role that ranks higher than a minister and gives him a voice in the nation's future planning. We need to make we need to move further towards fuel cells. That means the government will commit resources to developing such vehicles, he said. While China plans to phase out long-time subsidy programs for the maturing EV industry next year, government funding for fuel cell vehicles may stay in place to some extent, Wan said. So what's happening here is that cars are just not moving. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really where it is. They're just not moving. We just talked about people holding on to their old vehicles, like Dollar Will and DE Raptor. Even some of the people in the chat, I think, are still holding on to their cars.
Yeah, it's nothing to see a 20-year-old car on the freeway. You know, you go back, 20 years ago, you didn't see that much. The cars were not. I mean, let's face it. We're making cars and computers too well. They're too good for their own good, for the good of the company at least, because they're lasting too long. And the problem we have a dilemma right now where these cars like you mentioned that there's some apps you can find brand new cars at extremely low prices. um that'll be a good buy in the short term for people who can get them, but at some point this glut that we're in is going to be over, and this market will correct, and then we're going to start a march higher in energy like we've never seen before. And at that point in time, those are the people who say are getting a good deal on these cars, they're going to get shafted when they have to pay for that extremely expensive oil driving that old technology vehicle. So you can either buy an old car and enjoy the savings in the near term, but in the long term you're going to get screwed if you don't get a new technology vehicle that will kind of allow you to shield yourself a little from maybe $200+ oil, in gas, or oil, which would trickle down to what it would cost you to fill up your tank. I mean, can you imagine what an Uber would cost when oil is over $200 a barrel? What that's going to do to a Uber bill? So
You'll probably see Uber.
there's no way. It's nobody's going to be able to get away from that. I mean, it's when it comes to heating your home, running the air conditioning, catching an Uber. We're going to get screwed one way or the other. With the old car, you're going to have to pay for that high gas at the pump. The newer technology vehicle, you're going to have to pay the high sticker price. So I guess the middle ground would be to catch one of these electric vehicles at a steep discount and buy one of those vehicles as opposed to old technology car because it's cheaper. So that electric vehicle, that discounted electric vehicle might prove to be the smarter purchase in the long run, given that we're like we're saying, we're holding cars 15, 20 years now.
Yeah, I just saw it. Reigning woman is still driving a 2007 Camry, and she's quite satisfied with it. People don't see a reason to upgrade.
Right. I mean,
You got
we're taking
DE
long.
Raptor.
We're driving 5, 6, 7, 8 hours away from home, going up and down the coast with those cars, with no real fear that it's not reliable. We don't. They're good.
Yeah, DE Raptor talked about buying a 1989 to 1994 Toyota 4Runner because that's the only vehicle that he's willing to put his money into. You're seeing a lot more people just clench their wallet, clench their purse, and say, I'm not really feeling it right now. I'm not interested.
Right.
I got other priorities.
Yeah.
Hey, along the lines of that hydrogen car that you're talking about,
Hmm.
sometime the end of last month, I saw a news article that Chinese company developed a way of producing hydrogen on the vehicle, and it's cheaper than you can produce it now. I mean, it's way, way cheaper. The article appeared and then it disappeared. It's like the one where the Chinese guy said that he produced using CRISPR, he make a baby, and then he disappeared. So something happened that they don't want this technology out in the open. So if you got
You,
hydrogen
you know, you,
system like that, and China's got a hold of it, that's why they're going they're going the direction of hydrogen instead of battery because they produce the cheapest battery right now. Why are they going to switch to hydrogen?
yep. Yeah. I think what's going to eventually happen is the cost of parts at AutoZone and Advanced Auto Parts and O'Reilly. Um, what's going to happen is those parts are going to get very expensive. In order for them to make some more money off of it's going to drive up the price. We already saw what Trump tried to do. The Trump administration tried to do with Mexico by putting tariffs on them, and a lot of those parts get made in Mexico and get shipped back. That becomes a problem, especially for people with used cars with a lot of mileage on them. You got a Honda, yeah, a Honda can go 100, 150 to 200,000 miles, but you still got to change those brakes. You still got to change that, that water pump. You still got to replace that muffler when it gets rusty.
Yeah, and you're on to something there. That is an area that people should think about if this market, not if, but when this market really starts heading south, auto parts, because of what you're saying. That yeah, people have these older cars. They're not on a warranty of any type, and so everybody's going to be in line at the auto zone. You know, so auto zone, those types of stores do very well as people are working to keep these old cars running. So the guy in the neighborhood who knows how to do some basic auto repair, basic maintenance, um, he's gonna make a killing in his backyard garage. He's gonna make a killing because you got a lot of single women out here, and and you got older people, older men. They don't want to necessarily crawl up on their car no more. And so yeah, it's just simple stuff. Oil change the battery, change the brakes, right? Disc and
Hmm.
pads, right? Or rotors, yeah.
Yeah, because you got to swap out. Yeah, you got to swap out both. A brake job on my Volkswagen cost me $400. So
Right.
Hey,
That's good.
Donald, what about um, buying a printer and making parts to sell to like for older cars?
Well, that's if you can't find some place online, because I mean, hell, you can order parts from just about anywhere in the world. They don't take that long to get to you either. There's not really that many cars that's out there that you can't find somebody that's already making the part.
hmm
So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. That what the
hey,
heck?
what's going on here?
Sound like Jeopardy? You on Jeopardy or something, man?
Nah, this young lady just called me.
Uh-oh.
Can you put yourself on mute, please?
Candygram.
Hmm. Gabe says some people won't be affected at all. I beg to differ. This is going to be sweeping across the board. It doesn't know any color. That thing is colorblind. All right, let me get to this next one. All right, this one is from CNN Business. Boeing reports no orders for second straight month. Boeing reported no new commercial aircraft orders in May. It was the second straight month that Boeing's orders were at a standstill in the face of the 737 MAX crisis. The drop in orders isn't only because of the grounding of the 737 MAX. Boeing also has a massive back order of about 5,000 planes. Many of its customers do not need to place orders for additional jets right now. Next week is also the Paris Air Show, the key industry trade show for the year, at the at which Boeing and rival Airbus typically like to announce orders. So May is often a slower month for new orders. Yet Boeing booked orders of 43 jets in May of 2018 ahead of that year's Paris Air Show, and 21 of those orders were for the 737 MAX. 737 MAX was grounded in mid March after the second fatal crash of one of the planes in Ethiopia. Boeing is trying to win federal approval for a fix of an automatic safety feature, which has been the focus of the crash investigations. Boeing has continued to build the 737 MAX during the grounding, though at a reduced pace. Boeing canceled 71 orders for the 737 MAX in May, but that had nothing to do with the grounding of the plane. Sure, those planes were intended for Jet Indian Airline Jet Airways via various sales agreements. But Jet Airways halted operations in April after failing to secure emergency funding from banks. Due to the airline's current status, we have canceled the contractual agreements for those airplanes, Boeing said in a statement on Tuesday. The 737 MAX grounding has also halted deliveries of that plane, and it cut deeply into Boeing's overall deliveries last month. Boeing gets most of its cash from the sales of planes at the time of delivery, so the grounding is hurting its bottom line. Boeing just delivered 30 commercial jets in May, including 8 older version 737 planes. A year ago, it delivered 68 jets in May, including 19 of the 737 MAX, as well as 28 of the older versions of the jet. So Boeing is feeling it right now, and I wonder what their stock ticker looks like. Maybe we can get into that at the end of the show. Dollar Will probably look at Boeing stock.
Yeah, and also tell me this: when do the layoffs start? I mean, how long can you keep
I think
paying these people, man?
Maybe they get subsidies from the U.S. federal government. I suspect that they still are receiving income for parts and things like that. That's probably what they can eat off of for the next quarter or so, the next 2 quarters. But they can't go into 2020 like this.
And now, if you were an investor, a stockholder, in Boeing, what would make you not sell and go buy a utility company? Why would you? What would make you stay? What would make somebody hold on to that stock? And it's just what, blind loyalty?
Well, yeah. Airbus is actually reaping the benefits from a lot of this, man. From what I read before, they are actually getting more orders and more attention now. So
Yeah.
Well, what will make you stay in Boeing?
Yeah.
The military contract.
No, they said they haven't gotten any orders for planes.
Yeah, that's commercial.
Okay.
Boeing is the biggest military contract now.
Well, how many? It's like we're not. I mean, are we? I guess we'd have to look at their report and see what have they fulfilled their contract to the military? What is that? How many of those planes are they making? Is that our orders still coming in? I mean, are we blowing up planes? We're like in some heavy war right now that will cause us to need more planes. So no, it doesn't. And then when Boeing released their quarterly report, that takes into account all of it, and the report was hideous. So
Yeah.
why would well, when you we'll see on the charts when we get there. I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah, I'm bracing myself for what that's gonna look like. But I can't imagine that would make people go, yeah, let's just hang in there. Let's just hang in there with Boeing. And
Boeing is never gonna go under, bro. Never.
you
It's
say
like
you say what?
Boeing is never gonna go under.
Oh, well, we're not talking about going under it, but it won't. If you watch it lose, we'll see how much of a reduction from the high would you what amount of loss would make you leave us would make you check out?
Oh, okay. You're talking about the investor side.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Somebody for somebody who bought in the stock at 300.
Yeah,
Yes, that's the problem. That's a problem for them. That's their foolish fault.
right. That's what we talking about. The investor. Well,
Yeah.
which is the owner? We basically the stock purchasers are the owners. You are an owner of the company. But I believe you're right in terms of they're going to be around. This is going to create a good opportunity for um, everyone when this glut is over and on the market. We get back into a growth phase, but that's going to be a while. That's going to be a while. But when it ends, Boeing will be one of those companies that a lot of smart money is going to jump right in there.
But you see, the problem is a lot of Boeing, the money invested in Boeing is locked up in places like Fidelity, retirement funds,
Uh-huh.
and those funds don't really change their investment like on a dime. They may keep it for 2 or 3 years before even the price. Suppose the Boeing price at 370 and it drops down to 300. They might not sell it. They may keep it, and they might add to that portfolio because they know they're gonna go back up.
Yeah, but see, the people that listen to the brain trust, they're going to go and click on that mutual fund when I think it says constituents or holding something to that effect, and you'll see what's in it. You go, oh, they own Boeing. You're gonna see several. Oh, they own these auto manufacturers.
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe I need to get me a different mutual fund. Or maybe I'm not. Well, maybe let me call my financial advisor and see if it's a good idea for me to be investing in this fund right now. When they got this luxury car manufacturer. Oh,
I remember that from 2006 when my little investment fell 75%.
right.
When I looked at what my holdings were, it was like who is who that went from 200 down to 50.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah, we were looking. I'm trying to remember something. I was talking to Maddie Goes earlier. We were looking at something that fell 99%. I was trying to remember what it was. Something that was $150 and it fell down to $1.50.
get kicked out of the stock
Hey,
of kicked off to the what's called the Dow Jones. That company that just got kicked off the Dow Jones. I can't remember the name of it. I think you're talking about that one.
Could be. Go for it, Mike.
we got 35. We got 35 people watching. Only 27 likes. If you're not gonna participate in the chat, hit the like button, please. All right. This next article is from CNBC.com. Busiest U.S. port hit by 7 straight month of export declines amid escalating trade war. America's top two busiest container ports, the Los Angeles and Long Beach, on Tuesday reported declines in export volumes in May amid ongoing trade war with China. For LA, it marks the port's 7 straight month of declines in exports. The port of Long Beach, meanwhile, registered a 19.5% decline in imports in May, which economists suggested may reflect big box retailer concerns about inventory levels. The best we can say right now is that importers, at least through the Southern California ports, we're concerned probably more about the size of the inventories right now than with anything else," said Jock O'Connell, a California-based international trade advisor for Beacon Economics. Having already brought in vast numbers of commodities in anticipation of previous tariffs, they are pretty well stocked up. According to O'Connell, some retailers have simply run out of room to store new goods. The LA and Long Beach port complexes together handle about 40% of the nation's containerized import trade with China. The trade war boosted demand for what was already tight market conditions for warehouse space in the Southern California region. As U.S. Retailers sped up the import of goods from Asia's largest economy to avoid new tariffs and ensure they have adequate supplies for winter holidays. The warehouse and distribution centers in Southern California and ports themselves are just so stocked up with imports that they brought in previously that there's no place to put them, the economist said. Last week, the National Retail Federation indicated stores were loading up on goods to beat the Trump administration's threat to impose new tariffs on $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. On Monday, President Donald Trump renewed his threat to levy duties if President Xi Jinping is not at his and not at this month's G20 meeting. With major tariffs increase already announced and the possibility that tariffs could be imposed on of nearly all goods and inputs from China, retailers are continuing to stock up while they can protect their customers as much as possible against the price increase that will follow. Jonathan Gold, NRF's Vice President for Supply Chain and Customer Policy, said last week. The world's two largest economies have been locked in a trade war since Washington slapped tariffs on imported steel and aluminum from China in March 2018, which led Beijing to retaliate with its own duties on American products. The latest round of tariffs imposed by the administration took effect last month on $200 billion worth of Chinese imports. In May, the Port of LA reported import volumes increased by 5.5% from a year ago, which contrasted with the double-digit decline in import volume at the adjacent Long Beach port facility. However, when import volumes for both LA and Long Beach were combined, there was a 71% decline in total imports. Still, some experts suggested the import rise by LA may partly reflect shipments from Vietnam, which has been a beneficiary of trade as more manufacturers move production away from China. As for exports, the Port of LA showed a dip of nearly 1% in May after registering a 6% drop in April. The nation's busiest seaport has posted declines in exports since November 2018, according to its data. LA officials didn't break out May's volumes by country of origin, but a spokesman said China typically accounts for about 60% of trade volume coming in and out of massive complex. As we prepare our traditional park shipping season in the months ahead, we're closely monitoring global trade tensions that have been created and created heightened unpredictability. Port of LA Executive Director Gene Soroka said Tuesday. So, 71% dip in imports. This is alarming. This is not, nothing to sneeze at. You can't really avoid this. This is going to be catastrophic if they increase the tariffs again.
I mean, it's going to be catastrophic just where it is now. The exports look bad and the imports look bad.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I know Complex. Now, I was just gonna say, I know Complex Design spoke about this months ago that he has had issues getting imports in from his network in Southeast Asia as well. So he spoke about this 3, 4, maybe even 6 months ago that this was the problem.
right. And you said in the article talks about how stores trying to get ahead of the tariffs by ordering extra stuff, and that's backfiring because people are going to be buying less stuff. So for people who like to shop, I know there's a lot of women, they've turned shopping into a sport. The Super Bowl of shopping is going to happen this summer because all that stuff has got to get in the cutout bin. Okay, they got to get rid of that stuff because they can't store it in the store. You gotta, and you gotta pay for storage for this stuff. They got like a backlog of stuff. They just got to get rid of it. So we're gonna see some incredible sales this year. I mean, we see the retail stores going out of business I mean, it's a miracle we haven't had any stores go out of business this week that we're talking about. It seems like every week we're talking about some store closures. It's like, how can you sell anything at a competitive price when there's always a store, that has a fire sale, and we're just going to see that all the time.
Hmm.
So this is going to be pretty bad, and we talked about it, at the high end of the market with our automobiles, and it's going to affect every level of the economy, every at every income level.
And
Everything's
you won't
going to
see
be
any more
on
dollar.
sale. Everything's going to be on sale.
So
Yeah,
what's
you won't
gonna
see any
happen
more
to
dollar
the
stores.
Black Friday?
Say that again.
What's gonna happen to Black Friday?
Oh, it's going to come. It's going to come a whole lot sooner. We're going to have a whole lot of them.
It's gonna be nigga Friday. That's what that's gonna be.
You know, it's going to be, yeah. So get your price conscious, the people in your life who are competitive shoppers, tell them get their A game ready, because they're gonna have to make some wise purchases.
Well, you won't see any more dollar stores. No more discounts. stuff that stuff has to be sold at market value, above $1. If it was a dollar store, a 99-cent store, whatever you want to call them, those
Well,
stores will be $5 stores.
no, it's going to still be cheaper. What you're going to see is, I mean, I'm cheap. I go to the dollar store. I was laughing because I start seeing, you could tell when somebody's in the dollar store, and I'm not going to say they don't belong there, but they're like new there. you know, you
Mhm.
you can tell that, they like have a little bit too much money to be a regular shopper in the dollar store. You're starting to see some people at the higher end of the economic scale venturing into the dollar store.
Mhm.
It's interesting, you know. So you're gonna the dollar stores, they do pretty well in these times. Their stock goes up, their sales go up because a lot of that inventory gets purchased in, like, huge lots, and they end up in the dollar store.
Right.
So
Right.
it's gonna be a great business for them. But your bigger stores, it's gonna be tough. They're gonna have to compete with the dollar store. You can go in a dollar store and you can find Colgate and Crest and all the others, basic stuff you need. It's the same item. It's just cheaper. And you see people at the higher economic scale wandering into the dollar store.
Mhm. Those Doritos, those bag of Doritos. They might taste good. You might have to get those Munchios though. The lesser brand.
Yeah, when you drive past the dollar store, just pay attention to the automobiles in the lot. You're gonna see the cars, the value of the cars go up. You're gonna wait a minute. What's that?
Mhm.
Why is that Lexus in the dollar store? You're gonna start to see things like that that don't add up.
Mhm. Mhm. All right, let me get to this next article. Go ahead, DE. You have something to say.
No, you guys covered it all.
Okay. All right, let me get to this next article. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Boeing 737 Max grounding ripples through supply chain. Trade tensions lower airline profits, and now Max uncertainty threatens historic jetliner boom. While the grounding of Boeing company's 737 Max airliner is stretching into the fourth month, some suppliers are reconsidering their decision to keep making parts for the plane at full steam as inventories swell and a timeline for rectifying the planes remains hazy. This is starting to take this is starting to damp a years-long boom in jetliner production that has supercharged profits across the industry. The heady demand for parts to make all those planes, though, also has strained supply lines, leading to shortages of things like engines and seats. The Max-related pause comes to executives gather comes as executives gather here next week for the city's once every 2 years aviation industry bonanza, a venue where plane makers and suppliers typically hash out issues. German seat maker Recaro Aircraft Seating initially kept production lines going full throttle, but now is dialing back. Chief Executive Mark Hiller said. With some airlines pushing back delivery plans of the MAX aircraft, fewer seats are needed in the short term, he said. We are still producing for the MAX, just at a lower level. The Paris Air Show, which starts Monday, is normally dominated by a race between Boeing and rival Airbus to announce new jet orders this year. This year, that competition is essentially on hold until the MAX, which has driven Boeing's order book, is back in the air. We do not see anyone ordering the MAX until the grounding is lifted, Credit Suisse aerospace analyst Oliver Brochett said this month. The grounding has delivered a financial hit to the airlines that have brought the plane, triggering a handful of profit warnings. Airlines, meanwhile, face other headwinds, including rising costs and a slowdown in the cargo business. This month, the International Air Transport Association cut its projections for 2019 collective airline industry net profit by 21%, the sharpest adjustment in several years. It estimated the industry would deliver $28 billion in profit, the lowest level since 2014. Suppliers, though, had largely kept pumping out parts, betting that the grounding would be relatively short-lived. Some even saw it as a chance to catch their breath after years of scrambling to meet Boeing's and Airbus's blistering deadlines. Stopping production and then starting back up again can be more costly and disruptive than keeping assembly lines humming, even at expensive building inventories. The joint venture between General Electric and Safran SA, which makes Max's engines, has so far kept producing at and producing at its grounding target rate. But CFM President Gail Mahus said he was now considering slowing that down. He used the lull to get production back on schedule, but after it fell behind amid a surge in demand for engines. So we see there's a whole lot of cascading effects for manufacturing and supply chain. We talked about this some time ago, but the supply chain aspect is critical for massive production and of fourth industrial products. Not notwithstanding the Boeing airplane, everybody's affected by this. Just because a plane's sitting on a tarmac, you look at it as, oh well, 737 Maxes, they're just so unsafe. But what about all of the people who make the tires? I think Goodyear probably makes the tires, or Michelin or something like that, for these planes. And then you factor in the seats that are made by Recaro, um,
I mean, you
the
got you got you
electrical.
got you got small companies who their whole business is just serving Boeing or any big company like that, you know. And so if that company has a problem and they don't need your services, some of these smaller companies can end up going out of business
Hmm.
because they may not have a whole lot of accounts. You know, they just primarily exist to serve that one major account. And the smaller the company is, the more likely that's the case. I mean, how do you go how do you go out into the marketplace and 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 replace the loss of revenue you get from your Boeing account?
Hmm.
You know, it's not like you can't just go down the street and find another company as big as Boeing. You know,
Yeah, the other problem though, dollar is like if Boeing let that company go under, when they have to suppose they stop the 737 line, when they're ready to start it up, and that company no longer produces what they want, they have to find somebody really quick, and they can't do that because they have to get all those parts certified.
right?
And all those parts have to be tested again. You know what I'm saying? So you got a big problem.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I can't figure out. Boeing always used to look after the safety area very well, and I don't know how they just two things that they could have done to avoid what the problem they have with every airplane. Even the 787, they could have avoided that by putting a third battery in. In my opinion, as somebody who works on electronics, if they put a third battery in, because the charging and the discharge and charge of that battery, when you got two batteries for the whole airplane, that's wow. People wouldn't understand how those batteries work, but that is like in especially like takeoff and landing. That's oh man, that's like putting the whole power.
That's brutal.
And the 737, they two things they could have done. The first thing they could have done is raise the landing gear, make the landing gear longer, and they didn't want to do that, so that they could put the engine further back underneath the wing. Those are the two things that would have changed the whole airplane.
Well, they wanted to sell the safety features at an extra cost. I mean, that's like saying if you want anti-lock brakes, maybe if you cough up another $1,500, we can throw those on for you. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they made a lot of errors just because they didn't want to make a heavier gear. That's it. They didn't want to make a heavier gear, so they all those errors follow from that part, that one part. That from what I'm looking at, from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, that's
Hmm.
the one problem that they did. And I never seen Boeing do something so foolish as that.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's one of the downsides of, I guess, capitalism and a publicly traded company. You know, you're
Hmm.
trying to make the product at a high quality, but at the lowest price you
Hmm.
can go with maintaining quality. So you're trying to do that dance because again, you're trying to make money for the shareholders, who are the owners, and so a
Hmm.
lot of times the managers they're graded on how well they can how much money they can make. You know how cheaply can they make a good product.
maybe that might work when you're talking about like TVs with Vizios and Roku's and stuff. But when it comes to a plane, that's a different that's a different animal altogether. I don't know if you want to cut
No,
corners with those type of
it
things.
should be. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. It should be different. The standard has to be higher, but
Yeah, I mean,
not
cutting.
necessarily.
It, what I'm saying is cutting corners is exactly why they're in this situation now. Had they just spent the extra amount of money and not charged for extra on the safety features, um, they wouldn't be in this situation. It was something that was so avoidable. Somebody signed off on it, and in my opinion, that person must be either creating a new resume for one, or two, they got shown the door. I would not want to be friends with that person on LinkedIn who signed off on it.
Yeah. But when they don't make the profit that they should, because the profit went up, maybe they had to take a few percentage points to make the plane safer. Maybe take a little longer to build it. Then they're looking over at that manager who made those decisions, who basically took money from the shareholders, deprived them of a few percentage points. It's always that dance right there.
All right, let me get to this last one. It's from Quartz.com. The trade war is already pushing businesses out of China, and it could be permanent. The seemingly unexpected collapse of trade negotiations between the U.S. and China last month hinted that continual Sino-U.S. tariffs may be the new normal. But recent data reveal that well before broke down in May, China-based companies has already begun bracing for the worst case scenario. The latest trade numbers suggest that China has been selling Americans fewer goods like computers and auto parts, and that other countries are benefiting from the taking up of slack. What's at stake here isn't merely the health of China's export focused manufacturing sector. The longer the trade war wears on, the greater the risk China will lose its long-standing role as the planet's top manufacturing base. And as more and more foreign investment and technology flow to other nations, China's chances of becoming technologically advanced, innovative economy will dim. Let's turn to the numbers. Usually, slightly more than 20% of the value of goods Americans buy from abroad are made in China. But in the first 4 months of this year, China's share slipped by more than 2 percentage points. The value of the value of total U.S. imports barely budge. So, what countries, or I should say, what countries are stepping in to fill the void? Mexico and Vietnam have benefited the most, followed by South Korea and Taiwan. According to data from International Trade Commission, this aligns with economists' predictions as well as with similar analysis of the trade data. So Mexico at the highest, Vietnam comes second, South Korea comes third, Taiwan comes fourth, France surprisingly comes fifth, and India comes sixth, Japan is seventh. This has a lot to do with the product categories targeted so far. The first two rounds of tariffs, initially on $50 billion in Chinese goods, followed by $200 billion, fell heavily on electronics, advanced machinery, and industrial parts. Since Vietnam already sells electronics to the U.S., it benefited a lot. Meanwhile, tariffs on the latter two categories buoyed Korean and Taiwanese exports, which have long specialized in those sectors. So I talked about this many times before on economics, but the price of 55-inch TVs has gone up significantly. I don't think people are really paying attention to this because if you go back prior to the tariffs, you'll see that TVs were significantly cheap, especially 55s. Now, typically, people say it's because of Super Bowl season, it's because of you know Pro Bowl and all this other stuff, but I call BS because you can see a sharp increase on some of these charts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start to take a look at that. I know you have been saying that about the televisions. I have to check that out.
Yeah, they said specifically electronics. So only a matter of time, man. People gonna be paying $5,000 for like a 72-inch TV that they probably should be only paying $800 for
Right.
because they can. And we talked about last few articles where shipping coming into the LA ports from China has slowed down significantly, 71% combined with the Long Beach port. Big problems, man.
And no doubt. Buckle up.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
most
open mic session right now.
sorry, go ahead. Most of the electronic stuff that we buy now comes from China. Televisions, computers, cell phones. You know.
We we covered that. We covered that before. It was over 2/3 of our electronics comes from China.
And what doesn't come fully manufactured from China, parts come from China. Uh, most of the parts in there are made in China.
But we also talked about this the other day that this would be a perfect opportunity for Africa to actually step in and fill the void. They have more than enough real estate to actually start building manufacturing facilities to fulfill that void and have a shorter distance and employ a whole bunch of black people at the same time.
Well, the problem with that is that Africa is now a lot of Africa. There's a brain drain out of Africa. Seriously, all the people who supposedly went to college. The first thing that going to happen is that your family going to find a way to get you to England or France or Germany or Spain or something. Um, you're not going to come back until you make enough money to kind of make your family rich in the village. You know, that's the way it works. You come back home when you can build 3 houses, one for your wife's family, one for your family, your mother and father, one for your wife, mother and father, and one for yourself. And then you have to buy land. So until you can do that, if you're African that go abroad, until you can do that, you can't come home. So you go to the United States and you stay there for 20 years, you know. And that brain drain, and Mike, you know about that in Barbados too. I mean, all the educated people in Barbados leave. You know, you become a nurse, you leave Barbados. Go to work Canada, England, New York, you know. That's the way it works. And Africa
Yep.
has got the same problem. Africa has got that problem at a higher level because as soon as they get educated in Africa, they leave. And what's happening now is that a lot of those people are going back to Africa because they are seeing that they can go to Africa and make money now instead of having to make money and send it back to Africa. So what you're talking about is coming to fruition, but it's going to take some time. And even like we talked about the other, the companies are moving places like Botswana. You know, the cell phone, the guy who made the cell phone, they're selling cell phones now that they made in Africa. So that is coming to fruition now. And China, if China continue with this trade thing with America, they're going to have to move some of their manufacturing faster into Africa because they got to create a market for Africans to be able to have the money to buy Chinese products. They have to create a market. It's like China create the American manufacturers who created the American market for China. What China is going to have to do is create African market for China.
And for Europe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a short distance to Europe. So what's going to happen here is that a lot of that those manufacturing facilities in the Sinai Peninsula will have a 4 hour or 2 hour trip to Europe to Southern Europe to ship those goods up, and by railway through the Belt and Road Initiative, they'll get to their destination twice as fast as they did before. You would say the same thing about African exports into America in terms of manufacturing of electronics, toasters and microwave ovens and things of that nature. That's going to take maybe a day or so, or a day and a half to go from Nigeria to the New York ports and the DC Maryland ports and things like that. It's going to be huge. This is going to be a huge transition that people are not ready for.
Not only this, but like I talked to one guy in I said, look, the African Union, what they have to do is like negotiate with Boeing on behalf of all of African countries, and what you have to do is make Boeing either make 20 to 30% of their parts for every aircraft they sell to Africa in Africa, or they
Hmm.
have to assemble that aircraft in Africa. They got to build a plant in somewhere in Africa that's going to assemble that plant, not in Egypt or Morocco or Saudi Arabia. Don't let them build it there. They have to build it somewhere, either in Congo. If they build it in the Congo, guess what? They have to make the Congo safe. You can't create wars there anymore. If they build it in Nigeria, they got to make Nigeria safe. Wherever they build it, they have to make that area safe, and then you're going to get engineers coming out of that. This is the way I explained it to them. I said, look, if you start doing this, you're going to benefit from it. In 20 years,
Well,
Africa is going to come up with its first small aircraft, with its first 50-seater. Then it's going to build a 100-seater. And then in 2 generations, they'll be building aircraft, selling to America instead of buying it.
look look up Bombardier. You heard of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Bombardier actually has a competitive aircraft that's coming out. You probably know about this, but
Oh, yeah.
people in
I
the
know.
chat don't know this.
Yeah. They started out making
Yeah,
50.
I think.
They started out making 30-seaters. Then they made a 50-seater. Then they made a 70-seater. Then they made a 100-seater. So you
Hmm.
see how you move into the market. That's how you do it.
Hmm.
Canada didn't have any aircraft manufacturing until they Bombardier started. They started small.
But now China and Russia are very close to finishing their competitive aircraft, commercial aircraft, to Boeing and Airbus. Supposed to be finished sometime between 2020 and 2022.
Yeah, China's already made one that's flying. Russia too. Russia is flying a 100-seater. I think 150. So
Hmm.
they're getting close to and a lot of it is based off of Russia makes a good airframe, but they're making a better engine now because the technology transfer.
Hmm. Dollar Will, you have the floor. So if you want to show your bar charts, go right ahead.
Okay. Let me jump on it.
Boeing, bro, bring Boeing on. You want to see
Uh,
Boeing?
yeah, I'm gonna go to that last, but I'm gonna remind me. Don't let me forget it. I just want to give a quick overview of what's going on with the all important dollar. This is very important. Um, First of all, right here we're looking at the U.S. oil fund. I just wanted to make a point that this is the weekly chart, and this is some markings I had on it the last time we were looking at it, and I said that if the price broke this support, then that would be trouble. That's what happened, and it's falling, and also the dollar has been pretty much falling since April 26th. Seemed to have found a bottom around June 5th, and it's made a higher high here, and it would really be a sign of strength if the dollar breaks this resistance, and I'm of the opinion that it will. On the stochastic, we've been trudging along here in the oversold area, so it's due for a resumption of an uptrend. So the whole question is going to be, will it take out this high? I'm of the opinion it will, and that's going to cause more trouble for oil. It's going to cause more trouble for gold. And looking at the run in the S&P since June 3rd, that's where what was it? Sell in May and go away. May was a terrible month, and at the end of May, we had a nice rise starting the first trading day of this month, June 3rd. And in that time period, the best performer has been Mattel. Why? Who knows? Mattel. It must have really been in the dirt. But what I wanted to show you is number two is American Airlines. What do airlines use? They use fuel, jet fuel. It's an oil derivative. So if they let me see, this USO chart for oil we were looking at, this is an ETF which tracks the spot price of oil. So it is actually tracking the real price of West Texas oil. Okay, so and the point is, airlines use oil. If oil is cheaper, and the most expensive things that airplanes use is the fuel, then if oil is getting cheaper, that increases the profit of the airline. So that's no surprise that airlines have been like the most, along with Mattel, American Airlines has been the most profitable, let's say, large cap company in this run since June 3rd. So that's where the money has been going. And MGM Resorts, I know Matty Goat's going to be happy to see that. He's trading the game in stock. Okay. And Whirlpool, Chipotle. Chipotle might actually, that's going to be one to follow. It might actually continue because it's in that food space. Okay. Now, what are the bottom five? Energy, Cabot Oil, okay, National Oil Well, energy. So making the point that this dollar versus energy and metals is a that's like ground zero for a whole lot of things in the economy. So if you get that trade right, you're pretty well situated for whatever the going trend is. So that out of the way, we can talk about Boeing. Let me see this for a second. That's one. I didn't take a look at that. Cyclicals, materials. Okay, yeah. So basically, a lot of the stuff that's been rising since June 3rd, it's questionable if it's going to continue to rise. And the things that didn't, that were the bottom performing sectors, actually didn't even lose money. And energy, of course, I'm not. I think the dollar rise is going to be dangerous for energy, but the dollar rise is going to make energy cheaper, which will make utility companies profitable, because utility companies use energy to sell us our utilities. So that's going to be a win for them. And utilities is like probably my favorite sector right now. Financials. If you're not taking out loans to make automobiles, to buy the parts for Boeing, then you don't need banks because you're not taking out loans. That's not a good recipe for banks to do well. If people aren't taking loans out to make more widgets for their company. So that's your stock view and your sector view. And now we want to take a look at Boeing. Let me do this. BA. and this is quarterly. So every one of these candlesticks is 3 months. So that's what just off the break. I can see this daggone downtrend hasn't even really got going. It's just starting. So on the quarterly chart, we are already overbought. So this thing has a good little ways to go. So you can see that it's really nothing to really stop it from falling. At least here, this was the last significant breakout, and there's nothing to really stop it from returning to this area of 157. Nothing, no reason why it can't go from about 350 to 157 right now. So this is gonna get ugly. So the quarterly chart doesn't look good. We're already over bought, and the momentum oscillator is flipped negative. But we haven't made a lower low on the quarterly. Let's drill down, see what we got. Okay. Well, this until it breaks this low, I guess the bulls could continue to argue, that they're still in the fight, that they can be a contender. But if a company hasn't had any orders, I don't know how that's gonna work. So this is one of those situations where the fundamental traders and the technical traders probably going to be in agreement that there's no fundamental reason to own to buy Boeing, and there's no real technical reason either. So it's kind of in that. I want to see this. I want to put a trend line here and just see what it looks like. Because those artificial intelligent trading robots, let that price break this line right here. Those robots will know what to do. They're gonna lose their confidence just like a human being would if it breaks that, especially. And then so the first line would be break this diagonal line. The second line in the stand would be to make a lower low right here. And if that happens, there's nothing to stop it from coming back down to this long sideways move. It's really no reason why it would stop falling until then. And we'll see what happens. But it's right on a divide on a like a line in the sand. It's been drawn right here with the price resting on that diagonal support. The only good thing or hope you could say is on the weekly chart it is oversold. So it could have a bounce from here, but the tell would be how high it moves up if it does start moving up from here. So trader beware. So anybody holding, they would have to be doing it on faith, because if there's no fundamentals backing up, suggest pointing to an optimistic future, and there's no real technical reason pointing to an optimistic future. That's why I said earlier, for that person, they'd have to say, well, why are they holding on to it? So discuss it with your financial advisor. Ask tough questions. Ask the advisor, why should I hold on to it? When they tell you it's a great company, say, well, is there something else I can trade right now that's less risky, that's also a great company, that's performing well right now? How about a utility? Ask your financial advisor to compare and contrast Boeing versus a utility for purchase right now, today. What else you guys want to see? Hello?
Yeah, I think Andy in the chat says Amazon.
Okay. Amazing. That's what they should change the name to, right? Amazing. If Google can become Alphabet, anything is possible. I'll never understand that. Wow, this is interesting. Okay, so looking on the weekly, so we got the momentum going down, but it had a nice little pop right here. That is a suspicious pop. That's worth watching. That's strange. That's strange. It certainly looks like it wants to go higher, doesn't it? This is really strange. Okay, so it fell. It did not make a lower low. You had this suspicious pop. That's weird. I don't know. This one this is worth watching. The jury is out on this one. But that's a pretty suspicious move. Well, it did make a new high here, but it's still strange that it would pop right here and not just continue to fall. Now I switch it, of course, to the daily chart, and we've become we're barely in the overbought territory. I would say this is worth watching next week. By the end of the week, next week, we should have some clarity about what's going on with Amazon. It might be retesting this high, and if it comes right back up to this high, and without making a new one, then we'll have a double top. So this would be one of those situations that if it keeps moving higher, I'd put another support line right here below the price, and I'll be looking to see if it makes does it make a higher high without violating the support line, or does it violate the support line before making a higher high? So just as it was overbought here and went sideways for a while, there's no rule that says it can't go sideways in this overbought territory for a while. There's no technical rule that says that can't happen and that it can't continue to go higher. So this is what I do. I make arguments against my own point. Because you want to you got to do that. You gotta try to be objective. So I say, well, what would be an argument against my argument? So now this is another counter to that. Okay. So we got this line here functioning as support. The price came down, bounced off of it, crashed through it. And as I always say, support often becomes resistance. So let's see what happens as the price returns up to this area. What happened? I'm going to leave this line on here. So if we look at it next week, this line will still be here. And we'll see what happened. It might come up and kiss this line and die. It might confirm this diagonal support as former support as current resistance. So stay tuned next week. And like I said, we're already over. So I would, you put another line here. If it starts going, I put another line here. So we got a line in the sand here, and we got a support here. So we're just kind of like triangulating this thing, and it's got to go. It's going to solve this riddle one way or the other. And as a technical trader, we really don't care. We just want to be on this in sync with the trend, whatever it is. So that's one of those things as a technical trader. You have to be able to admit when you're wrong and kill your idea. When the market proves that your thesis was wrong, you have to be willing to give it up. And it's hard because your ego gets involved in it, and you spent like all these weeks and months thinking that a certain thing was true, and then the price action will prove that, okay, you were wrong. That's not exactly what's going on. So you have to just go where the price leads you. So next week we'll have an answer, or should have an answer to the mystery of what's going on with amazing Amazon. Got anything else in chat?
What about AMD stock
I knew you were gonna say that.
or Intel C?
And look at this. Okay, open up to the quarterly. So when Amazon started to fall, it recovered and it made a higher high. And this is an example how, like, even on a quarterly, this thing has been overbought for a while. Just kind of, not for long. 80 and above is overbought. So it wasn't this period. It's enough. Well, look, it was overbought and it still popped and went higher. So that's why in technical analysis, you don't just go by one thing, because this shows you right here that price can still take off. Let me go down to some lower views to see what's going on. But this is encouraging that the price came back and made a high because this was September. This former high was in September, almost a year ago, and it took it out. And so there's no reason why we can't go a Fibonacci. I mean, just purely technical, it could make another Fibonacci extension higher above this point. We could end up in $55. Nothing. There's no reason to say it can't. We're not overbought right now on a daily chart. So again, the overbought is around 80 and above. We're not there. So until it makes a lower low, and there's the bulls can make an argument that it's going higher. Okay, if I'm gonna count Elliott wave count, I can count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it could go to the next level higher and maybe retreat from there. So that would be the bulls argument, and the bullish argument is looking pretty good, seeing that it made a higher high and we're not overbought, and the momentum, the fast line is pointing up. So it's got room to go, and it's looking good. So let's see. You said Intel, so I wouldn't be shorting Amazon as much as I'm against Broadcom. Broadcom, the big chip maker, they issued a earnings report recently, and it was not positive, and that's what's the big news right now. And the concern is that Broadcom might be their numbers may be leading the chip maker semiconductor space, and that the other company is going to come out with similar reports. But given how Amazon is moving, that could be true. That as let's say not Amazon, AMD. AMD could end up with a similar report as Broadcom, but at the rate that it's moving, it still could get to. There's nothing saying that AMD doesn't get to $55 before that earnings report or the negative earnings report can come out, and it still can technically go to 55. So, and poor Intel. Mike, what's the story with Intel, man? Why they not having any fun? Why they can't play any reindeer games, man? I mean, AMD is just like taking off. And look at this. This is like big. It just looks like just one big sideways move. This thing since 2017, 2.5 years. This is like, well, what's up? What's up? What's the story with Intel? Why y'all don't give them no love, man? What's up? You still there? Can anybody hear me? Let's see. In the chat. Can anybody hear me in the chat? Somebody type a 1 if you hear me in the chat. My mic might be gone out. I've been having computer problems. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me. Okay, Andy can hear me.
Hey, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Mike V.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good.
So to answer your question, what's going on with Intel? Why we aren't giving them love, or is the industry not giving them love?
The industry. What's their reputation? What's going on?
Intel makes the CPUs that go inside your computer for Apple Macs and towers, right? So That's Apple's go-to partner. The problem is that they have a manufacturing issue. They cannot produce CPUs because there is a flaw in the design. So they have to go rectify these things, and that stuff takes months, if not a few years. They probably won't be able to fix this until late next 2020. So for the time being, AMD is soaring because their competitive chips are actually that much better, and they get to deliver them on time. Um, if you're a big computer brand that is looking to fulfill orders that Intel cannot fulfill.
So the people that ordinarily would have been that were Intel customers, they went with AMD because AMD could deliver what they needed, and they're satisfied with AMD, and they may not go back to Intel.
There will be no reason to at this point. If you're getting twice the performance at half the cost, would you go back and buy Intel?
No, I keep my Honda.
No, it doesn't. Well, in the industry that matters because computing power is measured in various ways, and those statistics show that AMD's processors or chips are actually significantly faster for half the cost. So if I need to update my computers, my servers, and build new AI machines and so on and so forth, cloud computing, and Intel is on the it can't backfill. I have to look for an alternative source. AMD becomes that alternative source, and thus their stock has gone up, incredibly over the last 6 months that we've been talking about this, right? I've been beating this drum since last summer that pay attention to AMD stock is going to keep increasing because it has to.
Well, given that it made that higher high, it could definitely get to 55. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So I mean, it's like even if Broadcom is representative of what's going on in terms of chip sales being down, AMD made a higher high, and again we had these artificial intelligence. They're programmed with all of the technical analysis stuff that I'm talking about. A lot of these trading bots and AI robots, they have all that in there, and so they know that okay, it's a high, it's not overbought, so it's a good risk to keep riding it out. So it could reach the next level for a technical reason. Although Broadcom's fundamental earnings report is saying that chip sales are down. So it's weird. It's
Broadcom,
weird.
yes. For Broadcom, yes.
So
Broadcom,
what is Broadcom's sector? What equipment uses? What's different about the customers of Broadcom, or what types of devices do Broadcom chips support that's different from what AMD supports?
the wire the wireless the Wi-Fi adapters that go inside your phones and tablets and so on and so forth mostly come from Broadcom. If it doesn't come from Realtek or another manufacturer, Broadcom is largely known for making chips for servers and other access points and stuff like that. So maybe their chip shipments might be down for them, but for everybody else, it might just very well be up. And that's only because we're in a design phase, right? A design life cycle right now, right? So going into 2020, you're going to start to see a lot more new computers come online, all the latest new designs and stuff like that. That's where Broadcom is going to come in because they're going to fulfill a lot of the chipsets for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, things of that nature. That's where Broadcom comes in.
Okay, so if Apple is selling fewer phones, And let's say Samsung comes out and they say we're selling fewer phones. Apple says we're selling fewer phones. That let me say it another way. If Broadcom says our orders are low, doesn't that mean that the Wi-Fi devices, which is like cell phones and other stuff, doesn't that mean that those sales are down? If Broadcom is saying we're not getting orders for our parts, and some of the main customers uh, for Broadcom is like cell phones and other Wi-Fi type devices, doesn't that isn't that like a forerunner, like a canary telling us what to expect from Wi-Fi device makers? You see what I'm trying to?
Not
You see how I'm
necessarily.
connected?
Not necessarily, because China. Remember, China has a growing handheld market, right? 1.5 billion people that they need to backfill, or to supply devices to. Could possibly be that Broadcom um, makes chips for that area as well, and because of this the trade war, and the cost of what the tariffs are putting onto their chip supplies, they may look for an alternative. They being the customer, they may look Huawei, ZTE, BenQ, these other companies, Motorola. They may look for another chipset that might be more cost effective, or they may go back to the drawing board and go build their own. Now, the other alternative is that they could, because Broadcom goes inside of a lot of cable boxes and direct TV, set-top boxes,
Right.
and a lot of TVs too. Um, that may also play a role as people start cutting the cord and start canceling Comcast and Time Warner and those Roadrunner and all those other companies. May not see the reason to actually supply chips to those customers, because no one's really buying cable that much anymore, or no one's really paying for cable that much anymore. So thus, less set top boxes need to be produced.
So I think where we are with this being the middle of June, let's see, the first quarter, what's that, January, February, March. The second quarter is April, May, June. So in 2 weeks, we should be in the end of this quarter, and more information should come out from other companies, and then we'll have a clearer picture of what's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
whether what's going on with Broadcom is isolated to Broadcom, or if it's really representative uh, of the market at whole. But even in that 2 week period, there's nothing that says that AMD can't get to $55 in two
It was
weeks.
there before. It was
Yeah,
there before. So
yeah, it can do it. It would not be odd or extraordinary if it did.
hmm
Especially the way things move, like at the end of a run, it kind of end in a bang, has a climactic end. All right, so that wouldn't be odd at all. That's all I got. Unless you guys got something else you want to take a look at.
no, I think we covered most for tonight. We, if you haven't seen Lionel's Black Crypto Talk, make sure you go back in the archive from Thursday, and check out that hangout as well. That is closely related to finance. And just as a FYI, we are not certified financial planners. If you want a certified financial planner, go to CFP.net and look up one in your area. Please hit the like button if you have not already done so, and share the video if possible. We got our first thumbs down. I kind of know who that's coming from. Um, have an idea where that's coming from.
Well, thank them for the
Uh,
response. Any participation is good.
Hey, Mike, if you got a couple of minutes, I'd like to ask a question from the chat.
oh, go ahead.
Everybody's, I don't know who saw today's news about what's going on. Those two tankers. If you guys are listening to us, why is it that the market didn't react to those two tankers being hit by so-called mines from Iran? Why didn't the dollar move? Why didn't the oil market move? You know, what are you seeing happening?
You talking to me?
No, no, no. I'm talking to the chat because sometimes you gotta ask these questions because people might come in the chat and they listen or say they're listening, but really, we're not listening.
For them, I would say, y'all know not to poke me, man, on one of these daggone technical versus fundamental things. Let me
Oh,
just say, on those kinds of things, and yeah, it's good, it's great to talk about it, but write it down, take the article, when like the news article about this event or that one, and just like print it out or file it away. And the next time somebody says, one thing or another, you will have your own database, your own information where you can see, like, because I've been saying that, oil is going to fall, and I've issued some articles all the time, from different companies, uh, oil industry data forecasting that we have a glut, and that consumption is low, you know, and so the price is dropping. There's data that supports the fact that we're not consuming it. Uh, the demand isn't great enough to justify the price continuing to rise, and so then there's some issue with some tankers, and it's like we want to try to create a cause and effect, a near term cause and effect, and it's not that simple. Especially, I guess, if we can sit here and make price projections, technical projections, and the price pretty much will follow the script, it's hard at that point to say that some outside event is driving things, because that would, if outside events drove prices, then the prices would be random on the charts. And the fact that you can make Fibonacci extensions and apply these technical concepts to make uh, pretty accurate price projections, that suggests that there's an order. There's enough order that you have to rule out randomness based on some event happening just out of the blue, because prices do not jump around like that. Why? How else could you have something called technical analysis that's over 100 years old? This is not something new that people just came up with. So I guess the way I look at it is that you have companies, they sign trade agreements to, one country going to produce oil, another one's going to buy it, and these trade agreements they have a term that's very long, not for 1 or 2 years. These like be decades and things like that. They don't just sign like these short-term agreements like that. And so you have one country has a need, a demand, another country has a supply. That's enough right there to create a trading relationship and a price trend right there. You got,
Well,
you got. Go ahead.
sorry, why I asked the question is that a lot of guys come into the chat and they ask questions, but if you're here, not only ask us questions, but ask yourself questions. When you see things happening, you ask yourself, well, why is it that even though the U.S. is that area before, just the thought of that area being no oil passing through that area will cause the market to go into turmoil. So why is it not happening then? These guys in the chat, you should be asking themselves these questions because they're going to be learning how to invest. They listen to you, they're going to learn how to invest. Listen to Linnell blockchain. So all these things affect the market. And you were saying long-term trends when say China is going to buy energy from say Russia. It's not for 2 years, 1 year. It's going to be for 10 years, a decade, 20 years until they find a better supplier, a better price. When they reach couple of years from the end of the contract, they're going to look at other suppliers, and only then they're going to change. But the short term economic things like what's going on in China with the trade imposition of tariffs, what's going on in Mexico with the imposition of tariffs, these things affect the market. They drive price up or they lower prices. They create unemployment or they create employment. And that's what these guys have to learn to do. As black men, we got to start looking at the world.
And then you got that dollar, what the dollar's relationship to energy and metal. It's a whole lot of moving parts. That's
Yeah.
why it's hard for me to accept that, somebody made a tweet and the price it's just too much going on. And it's so next time I get an article that shows there's data out there that shows what percentage of the trading is done by robots. In fact, I'm sure you could probably Google it and get the answer right now. There's just too many computers controlling things for a computer to care about a comment that somebody made. Computers work.
You mean
Go ahead, Mike.
AI effery?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I mean, computers work. They work with math, very well. And chart levels. It's geometry. It's math. It's like ideal for a computer. The computer can figure out these all these chart patterns that a lot of these various trading systems use. A computer can decipher that quicker than the eye can see it forming, and can see these support and resistance levels, and it can quickly know that, okay, it just made a higher high, and it'll know what that means, and maybe the bias has changed, and so now it's going to look for maybe a 62% retrade. It's like the computer can calculate all of that quicker, like Mike said, quicker than my mind can figure it out. And the computer is looking at dollar data, oil energy data, metals data, foreign currencies, all at the same time, and watching the same kind of changes happen in all of these charts at the same time, and processing that, okay, we have a change in bias. And so I just can't buy the argument that a president makes a comment and it just throws the whole world off like that. I mean, I would have to see somebody make an argument where they pull up charts and show that what happened was aberrant in the perspective, say, of technical analysis. Because a lot of times, what people when people say that the news made some change, most of the time they're not technical traders. So a technical trader would look at it and go, "There's nothing aberrant about that move. It didn't make a lower low. Now it moved radically. Yes, it did move quickly, but the speed of the drop of the decline may have been aberrant, but the depth of the decline was not aberrant. It got where it was destined to go very fast, but it didn't trade outside of a normal orderly range. It just got there real fast. So.
Yeah, I just want to get to Wacky World of TV. What's going on, old man? He says NASA reported that they'll start giving private space tourism for $35 per night. Yeah, we covered that earlier this week, and it's a very interesting concept because we talked about this before, that how do black people get involved in space exploration and space tourism? What role are they going to play? Are they going to be the booking agency? Are they going to have Airbnb close enough to these space launch sites where they can actually, have people lay over before they can get onto the flight, things of that nature. So there's all opportunities that can come out of that.
And I just want, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike. I want to get in after you finish. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Now I thought you were done with. Go ahead. Now with it.
No, the Council Dragon says that the oil didn't spill. Oil didn't spill. Did it? Just delayed the oil, right? We don't even know if there was oil on there. You know, those could have been empty tankers for all we know. Um, the whole purpose of if you're gonna attack shipping lanes, you know, you're gonna let it be known. You're not gonna hide your hand. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, an oil tank is the size of a football field. You really think that, if not bigger, you really think that you know, an oil tanker that big in the ocean is has been hit by something and nobody knows where it came from? I don't think so.
Yeah. And next show, you guys from the chat, you know, hop on the panel. You know, we ain't gonna, you know, we gonna keep it respectful. You know, we want to hear the different points of views and you know, hear how you what your perspective is on the stuff. You know, and it's just hard to fully understand maybe where you're coming from the chat. You might be able to represent your point of view better talking on it, because you know it's kind of limited how many characters they let you type in the chat. So you know, hop on, you know, plan to hop on the panel.
Yeah, when you're gonna invest, when you're gonna follow the market, you're gonna follow the news and all that. You gotta ask questions, and as the more questions you ask, the more answers you're gonna get, the better your information is gonna be. You know, you become a better investor and a
Yeah.
better, a more knowledgeable of everything around you. You don't just see one part of the story; you begin to see the full picture.
Right. And you got some of it you got to really write down. Got to really write down, because you know when you're watching these TV shows, they can have like a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, to take something that's kind of complex, and it's hard to do it justice in that, you know, little 3 minutes that they get.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if you have not already done so, and share the video if possible.
Sign up on my
Here
channel. I need some subscribers, y'all. Hit me up. Holla Will.
All right, peace.